Good morning. The September 18th, 2023 work session of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order. We welcome you, Douglas County citizens. County Clerk, please take the record, or the roll for the record.
Yes, sir. Commissioner District 1, Ricky Dobbs is absent today. Commissioner District 2, Kelly Robinson.
Madam Clerk, present.
Commissioner District 3 and Vice Chair Torinia Carthen is not here as of yet. Commissioner District 4, Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Phil Miller.
I'm here. Commissioners, are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda?
No, sir. No, sir.
Being none, the agenda stands as approved as presented. As a reminder, each commissioner will have 3 minutes to make remarks and 2 minutes for rebuttal. Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comment?
Yes, we did, Chairman. Before I call anyone up, I'll just remind you, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Once you reach your 3 minutes, we'll ask you to complete your thoughts. And when you reach the podium, please restate your name and subject matter and speak directly into the mic. So the first individual we had, Mr. Paul Morley. Did I pronounce that right? Okay.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Paul Morley. I live at 3997 Lithia Way in Lithia Springs. I'm bringing a zoning concern to you today. My property, the property behind me, which is located at 6795 North County Line Road, and the property adjacent to me on Lithia Way are all zoned residential low density, or RLD. The Unified Development Code, which can be found on the county website, Section 210, Table 2.5, does not allow for animals other than house pets in that zoning area. The 10.5 acre lot on North County Line Road adjacent to mine currently has 4 to 8 horses, 4 goats, at least 1 donkey that likes to bray at 4:30 in the morning, 8 head of cattle consisting of 2 bulls, 6 cows, and occasionally several calves. The neighbor next to us on Lithia Way recently purchased the property. Talking with my wife, told her that he was measuring the property to put up a fence to contain his cattle. Code of Ordinances, Section 319 regarding animals, states that in these districts, AG, agricultural, RA, residential agricultural, and RLD, residential low density, allows domestic animals including horses, mules, donkeys, goats, swine, and ponies at the rate of not more than 1 such hooved animal per full acre of land. I'm a little bit confused on these 2 ordinances and sections in that they seem to conflict with each other. Unified Development Code and the Code of Ordinances, one allows for animals, one doesn't. So it's a little bit confusing as to what is allowed. The County Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Tizone, addressed this issue a couple of years ago. He came out, he did photograph actually one of the bulls while he was talking with me on my property, and he's decided that he's going to allow them to keep the cattle on their property. So my question is basically, what's the point of having codes and ordinances if they're going to be in conflict with each other and not enforced? I hope that at some point the conflict can be resolved in your codes and ordinances. And I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak this morning.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Robinson.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for attending our Board of Commissioner meeting this morning. While your matter is a planning and zoning, hopefully Allison Duncan is out there and you will take this offline after this meeting, acknowledge our citizen, and see what we can do and bring it through the proper form If there's a conflict, resolve it. If not, just make sure we address his concern. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I yield.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Our next citizen is Mr. James Benko.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
My name is James Benko. I'm at 2711 Old East County Line Road, Lithia Springs, 30122. And regarding the lack of road maintenance on our road, post communication or a complaint with the board on 8/14 about lack of road maintenance of access to 2711 and 2727 Old East County Line Road, Lithia Springs. Prowling raised the issue on 8/14. The DOT Levon King promptly arrived to view the condition of the section of road of Old East County Line under Solman Rana's direction. Thank you for your prompt attention and leaving his number with my neighbor for communication. But issues stemming from the visit and conversation I had with Levon on 8/17 at approximately 7:30 a.m. Conversation was 8/17. I called Levon and Douglas County DOT at 7:32 a.m. He agreed the road was in bad shape and in need of paving, that it would be requested for funds in next year's budget. I mentioned to him that the potholes need being patched. He said he didn't see any potholes, and I told him that the potholes are right in front of each of driveways, and he said he would come back out, but my fiance was watching, did not see him. The potholes were in the pictures submitted in the doc on that date. One I gave and ones that I gave the Solman. Levon also told me that he has a list of history of maintenance done on the road, and I told him that the only maintenance that was done was tar and chip patched where there was a water line repair. Levon told me that he said that I think he told me that he said he didn't do that patch. So I don't know, that was probably water department and whatever. But he said that he couldn't do anything about the spot in front of the mailbox, which is complained by the mailman. But we'll get into that. Okay, the mailbox and viewing the pictures is nowhere near the depth of the potholes, and are not a problem. Outside of the conversation, the only maintenance done on the road was crush and run by the mailbox at the end of our driveway, which made a mucky mess and had to be shoveled out by me and hauled off to so that they wouldn't get stuck. And anyways, in the mucky mess, the mailman had made a number of complaints, though through the years, for the road needing repaired because they were getting stuck. And some tree trimming was done approximately 2016-17, also the next week after 8/14. I was here last time. But outside of that, there wasn't any maintenance done on this road. No potholes, no nothing. 8/19, just 2 days later after Levon was there, I took pictures of the potholes and measured them so that you could see and make record of these potholes that, as stated by Levon, he did not see. In 8/19, 8/21, maintenance, the tree trimming, they did some tree trimming, thank you, but there were no patches or potholes or maintenance on the road.
Mr. Benko, your time has reached its limit. Can you wrap up your comments, please?
Yep. The rest is I just have pictures of the potholes and the depth, and just requesting that you make record of these. I also have, in short, the road is in very bad condition, and I don't want to see any vehicles being damaged. Or we have also an elderly to-be mother-in-law downstairs living with us that we watch over, and there might be emergency vehicles needing to be coming down the road. It's not good. I would really like to see the patches.
Thank you,
You
sir.
know, I know that they're doing, they put it on next year's budget to pave the road and to bring it up to par with the neighboring, but, you know. All right, thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes, we had one more individual, Ms. Jaton Osborne.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for listening to our concerns yet again of Parkside Village and Parkside Manor in Lithia Springs. We are still in opposition of the rezoning in our area, and also the comprehensive plan update that we noticed does not have anything to do with our area again. Right now, we are zoned for residential, but it's being opposed and it's discouraged to bring any more homes in our area, and it's focusing on light industrial and the warehouses in our area. Our concern is these warehouses is supposed to be for economic development for Lithia Springs to bring jobs to the community. However, these warehouses are built through the Opportunity Zone monies, and they are not providing jobs for the community. These warehouses are being built, and they're not even being filled with companies. They're being built, and they're still sitting there to be leased. And due to what we've seen in regards to tearing down of these buildings, it's 20 years, and these are brand new buildings that are surrounding our neighborhood that is not doing what it's supposed to do. Our taxes have been raised, and in raising our taxes, they are getting a tax opportunity not to pay taxes for 10 years. They're getting tax deferment. These are empty warehouses, and then there's no retail or restaurants or anything else outside of these warehouses in our area. And then they're tearing up the roads, as he was stating before. We're still having those concerns. Signage has been torn down, and the traffic maintenance has not been done. We would like to get some conversations or some additional meetings around this, and that does not say take it and that's it. So right now, we're feeling like it's take it and that's it, and that's a concern for us. It's blocking our cell phones. It's flooding in areas near us right now, and so we really want to see what we can say or what we can do to get some assistance regarding this, not just take it and that's it. And that's,
What was your address?
I'm sorry, 981 Forest Knoll Court, and it's Parkside Village and Parkside Manor. And this is Rock Hill Parkway, right between Riverside Parkway and Thornton Road. So anything in between there, that's where our concerns are. We also want to provide some information regarding the potholes, the flooding, and all that. So we are composing a video, and I talked to Lisa, and we're going to try to provide that to you guys. We didn't know how to do it in this kind of platform, but we do want you guys to see how it's affecting our community.
Okay, do you live in the city or the county?
In the county, but we're unincorporated Lithia Springs.
I'm sorry?
Unincorporated Lithia Springs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that area is, some of it's county, some of it's city, so I was just, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone
Thank
else,
you.
Clerk?
There were no other individuals that signed in.
Okay. We have a SPLOST update today for the 2016 SPLOST. Mr. David Good will be presenting.
Thank you, Chairman.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. Again, my name is David Good, and I'll be presenting on the 2016 SPLOST that ran from April 2017 until the end of March 2023. What we have going on is we'll be talking about the expenses that came in through August, as well as there were no projects that were completed since our last presentation back in August, and we'll be presenting major activities in our three character areas, which is fire and EMS, transportation, and parks and rec. Right now, we see that from the beginning of the SPLOST to the end of the SPLOST, we had about $122 million, a little bit short of 122. The amount expense last month was $2,101,841. The total amount invoiced as of the end of August is about $89.5 million. The remaining SPLOST funds is about $32.3 million. Now we have 82 projects that's being completed, and we have 28 active projects. Of those 28 active projects, fire station and fire EMS, which represents 32% of the SPLOST. We have fire station number 11, which is the turnaround, as well as the adding sewer to that area. That's at a cost of $652,583. Integrated was awarded the contract back in August. And we have the sewer line, the proposed sewer line going along SR 92, which is also Dallas Highway, and the retention pond. And it's expected to be completed this coming February. We also have fire station number 9, which has been put out for bid. They come in next month, coming on Monday. That's when the bids should be in, and we're estimating completion. Of course, we won't know the date until the contractor is on, but it'll be the last quarter of 2024. And then, of course, we do have the resurfacing, the 2023 milling and resurfacing. That's at a cost of a little over $2.4 million. SPLOST dollars is a little over $1 million. And Barlow, Barlow paving started work back in July. It's about 80% completed, and that should be done sometime this fall. Also in transportation, we have the new Manchester High School sidewalk. Of course, we know that budget did increase to $1.5 million because we did extend it. It's also out for bid, and the bids will be due tomorrow. So they'll be coming in tomorrow, and we're estimating completion come this spring. And also, we have the new playground equipment at 4 of our parks: Billard, Fairplay, Deer Lake, and Woodrow Wilson. The cost was $371,283. Housley Recreation started the playground equipment. It's been set and installed. It's actually been installed at Fairplay. It's completed, and then we're currently working on Billard and Deer Lake, and we're looking for estimation and completion of all of them come this fall. And with that, I know it's a short presentation, but I'll take on any questions. And we have Terry Gable here from Atlas to also respond. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Robinson.
All right, it's Monday. All right, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right. So, again, we're finishing off the 2016 SPLOST, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And out of the 3 buckets, one more time, for transportation seems to be the topic next, we'll go ahead and address that. So talk to us about transportation. Do we have anything left in the transportation bucket?
Yes, sir. As far as active projects, we have quite a few.
Give me the highlights.
Okay, I'll give you the highlights.
Just the highlights, just, because transportation is expensive.
Yes, sir.
And I get citizens, and I want to put things in context about the responsiveness of the administration. So my job is to balance the administration and the public, and be that guide assisted, like, okay. And you got to set expectations. This is costly.
Yes, sir.
You're right. Well, your stuff ain't been maintained in 30 years. Our bad. But at least this administration is stepping up and putting forth resources to do it, but it's limited resources. You can't address it, can't be reactive like the ER. It doesn't work that way. It's a process. We have to queue things up. But I want you to go ahead and talk to just major buckets. How much, talk to me about intersections, talk about resurfacing, and talk to me about bridges. Just those 3 buckets.
Okay. First, we have, of course, we have the resurfacing that we spoke about. There's $1 million coming from SPLOST, even though it's a little bit over $2 million. The rest of it is coming from transportation. We also have the right turn lane onto Douglas Boulevard coming off of SR5. So we do have that going on. We are finishing up Stewart Mill and Reynolds Road. And we also have about 4 projects that are just going to be for design when it comes to intersections. So we do have those type of projects. We also have the Lee Road widening. We have phase 1 in phase 2. Of course, we know we're doing phase 2 right now, widening from Monument Road going over to SR 92, and then we'll have some design work when it comes to phase 1, which is taking it from I believe it's Vulcan Road on over to maybe we'll curve around over there to 78 at some point in time. That's the way it's supposed to go. We also will have, of course, the work that's along 166. Greystone Power will be doing that section there. So we do have some lighting projects that's left, and that's about it.
All right, my second
And also
question.
Chapel Hill.
That's fine.
Lighting.
Next question is Terry. Step on up. Terry, so in your anticipation from the beginning of this SPLOS, from your involvement till now as program oversight for all this roughly 85 projects, since we're at the end, are we going to be finished with the entire 2016 SPLOS this year? Seeing that we got a 2022 SPLOS just got kicked off last year, passed by referendum that I'm still looking for us to get started on. Are you going to still be carrying over 16 into next year? We're going into a budget process, and I just need to make sure I anticipate who's going to oversee this.
Yes, sir. It'll certainly carry over into 2024. Lee Road obviously is the biggest project we currently have going on with SPLOS funds, and it's projected to be completed next fall of 2024. Several intersections, Chapel Hill Road is under design. We have some that'll be completed this year, hopefully, but the resurfacing will wrap up this year for the 2016 program, but several projects will be going on after this year.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. I got one more question for Akio. Is Suleiman out there? Director Rana? Come on down.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners.
All right, Suleiman, we're going to keep this really simple. You got the 2016 SPLOS and 2022 that was just passed. For the record, speak to the transportation bucket, what percentage, what dollar amount, and give me the 4 categories that we talked about in committee, please.
Yes, sir. So in 2016, we were allocated 51% for transportation projects. That equaled out to roughly $51 million plus some overage, puts us close to $60 million. 2022 SPLOST has an allocation of 27.8%. We've got about 9 projects that will be conducted through those fundings, and the 10th item is resurfacing, which is 35% of that total amount for each year for the life of this SPLOST.
Okay. So you hear that resurfacing. And how much is that? Roughly 35% of that allocation for transportation is resurfacing. Now, is that resurfacing going to go to major arteries, sub-arteries, subdivision? How does that work?
Yes, sir. And Chairman, if you allow me to give some background on the resurfacing needs of the county. We've got about 45% of our roads that are in poor or marginal shape. That means they need resurfacing or significant repairs, and that includes one of the road that we heard about this morning, which is the Old East County Line Road. With that being said, that puts us in a 30-year backlog of roads that we have to address. And then going forward, if we were to just maintain the roads as they were, we have to do 45 miles of resurfacing every year, which of course with the given funding or allocations kind of becomes a little complicated. With that being said, we currently have around $10 million dedicated towards resurfacing from 2022 SPLOST. That would allow us roughly $1.5 million each year. And to put that into context, that gives us, I would say, anywhere from 10 to 12 miles for the county and about 4 to 5 or 2 to 3 miles per district.
Thank you. 2-3 miles per district. That's all you got for entire SPLOS. It's expensive, but the public said what? Public safety was first, transportation and economic development was second, etc. So go back to what our priorities are. We have limited resources and appropriation. Gentlemen, thank you for that. We don't have to belabor that. We'll pick all this up during our budget recycle, but I just want to address, we understand, we want safety, protect the walls, but also need to deal with that infrastructure. But it's something that historically hadn't been maintained. We're trying to get it back on track, but it's only one bit at a time. We can't rebuild Douglas overnight. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, I yield, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Have none. We will have the swearing in for the Douglas County Youth Commission at tomorrow night's meeting. Next on our agenda is the meeting minutes. Commissioners, please review the minutes before tomorrow's meeting. The financial report for August will be presented to the Finance Committee later today. Please prepare to accept the report during tomorrow's commission meeting. We have some proclamations. We will have two proclamations presented tomorrow, proclaiming September the 15th, through October the 15th, 2023 as Hispanic Heritage Month, and proclaiming the week of September the 17th through the 23rd of 2023 as Constitution Week. We will have a public hearing tomorrow for the Douglas County Comprehensive Plan update and adoption. Allison Duncan will give us a briefing on the public hearing.
All right, good morning,
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. I will be brief because I know you have heard me stand at this podium and say comprehensive plan many, many times. We have sent the plan through state and regional review. We have received affirmation from those entities that we are fine to go ahead and proceed with the final hearing and the final adoption. And so we have met all of the advertising requirements, and we have that on the agenda for tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. I am happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any comments, questions? Commissioner Robertson?
Absolutely. No, well, again, Allison, thank you, you and your staff for your work and effort doing these comprehensive plan. I'll have to defend the quality of the work is on point. I appreciate the consultants that were in here. I appreciate the Board of Commissioners to put up the cash to do this, to actually get citizen input. Right, we're shaping our county for the next 30 years. Right, hopefully citizens participated during all these input meetings. You have plenty of time to have weighed in, to shape. It's all about zoning. It's already in play. Did you weigh in for the next 30 years? Talk to me about Winston and Lithia Springs. Something was made earlier. I'll give you a little quick one. We won't go long because we got a hearing tomorrow. But please address the Lithia Springs, and was it included? Did we have a separate study? Can you speak to it, please?
We do, yes, sir. We did 2 small area studies for Winston and for Lithia Springs. We are proposing that those be incorporated by reference into the comprehensive plan update, though they do exceed the required state minimum. We did send both of those documents through for state and regional review, and so we do present the entire document as one complete document, including the comprehensive plan update with the small area plans for Winston and for Lithia Springs. We did introduce character areas for both of these areas, as well as countywide for Douglas County. And so the character areas start to kind of get at a more descriptive level of what we're looking at in any particular geography. In regard to Winston, Winston is the area where we probably made the most potential change to the future land use map. That becomes relevant because even though we introduced character areas, which sort of paint a very broad brushstroke picture of what we would like to see, the future land use map did not change very much. So in regard to some of the concerns about areas where new warehouse development may potentially be coming into Lithia Springs, we did keep the existing future land use map the same in those areas, and so that would have to be a vote of the Board of Commissioners to change that. In regard to Winston, we did work with the Development Authority for an area immediately adjacent to the city of Douglasville that's about 800 acres, where we would plan for the next wave of industrial expansion. But again, both of these were kind of bordered in by a character area that says we want to keep it here and go no further. We have heard the citizens and their concerns about the increase in industrial traffic and development in Douglas County. And so we will also have a series of text amendments that we're going to start to bring forward to you as early as our October 3rd meeting to start to address some of those very kind of pressing changes that the community indicated they wanted to see so that we can better align our zoning with the comprehensive plan update.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you, dear.
thank you.
County Administrator, do you have any business to come before the board?
No, sir, not today.
Thank you. We will now begin with our agenda items. Clerk, please begin with the first agenda item.
Yes, sir. Under grants, we have number 8, authorization to accept the FEMA-GEMA weather radio grant to purchase 2,000 NOAA weather radios for citizens in the amount of $52,300, which $47,070 will be from federal funds and $2,092 from state funds, with a local match of $3,138 to be funded through emergency operations budget, amend the budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Good morning. This grant is just makes what it says, provide NOAA weather radios to low-income residents in the county. What I envision if you approve this grant, accept the grant, that will reach out to each one of the districts and have areas that the commissioners know are concerned low income, reach out to those residents and provide those residents with the NOAA weather radio so they can help them become more prepared in their area.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah. No, that was one of my questions is, okay, how are you going to deal with distribution? All right, so we got 4 commission districts, so that's roughly about 500 each. We got some kind of way to distribute them. Have we ever done this before? Do you know?
Not on this scale. We had a small one back when back about 2007, 2008. We put some out, but nothing of this scale. This will be a lot more than we've ever dealt with before.
So what were we putting? Fire stations? What would we recommend? Fire stations, libraries? I mean, if they're low, how do we get them to them? In other words, it's on them to come. And what does it look like? Is it one of those big ones?
It's just the one. It's a small, almost like an alarm clock size, really. From a bedside, that's about the size of them. But what I would like to do is, the first thing is hit mobile home parks, because they need to be aware that they need to take action quick. We do, and pretty much nowhere in the Metro Atlanta area do we have storm shelters for people to go to. So we need to make sure these people, when they get a warning, that they have try to get it earliest warning possible, so they can get somewhere safer for them to get to, so they can try to take whatever action they can to protect themselves. But first thing is getting the warning and understanding the warning, so they can take action. That's our goal.
That's fine. So it's roughly 13. I think last time we counted mobile home communities. You've got that. We'll follow your leadership. And so my last question is, how will you keep up with them? It's almost like with anything, assets that we get out. Is there a process in which I gave out 2,000, I got 2,000 signatures, recipients? How do we keep up with that asset that we gave away?
We're going to have a spreadsheet when we give them out. We put their name, address, and they check, because that would be part of the grant accountability. They, just get the radios and they say that was a good job. They want to know where they went. And so that just have that signature, or we provide, if we end up, because if the schools need a new one or whatever, you're still providing those radios to a marginalized population, so that'd be fine. If we need to help out them or whatever, and just try to hit these areas that we can do the most good and get them to the residents and they need them most.
No, I remember the 500-year flood when I first came back. It came in at 08, 09, brutal, 21 inches in 3 days.
Yes, sir.
Brutal. So I get the importance of having these type of things available. Thank you for your response, Director Milholland. Mr. Chair, you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Clerk?
Okay. Item number 9, authorization for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to accept the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program grant funds in the amount of $46,961 with no match, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Lieutenant Colonel Pounds.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This SCAP funds are for, basically what she says is for holding illegal immigrants. We get reimbursed for that from the federal government. I got a laundry list of things, and I'm happy to go through it for you if you like, for what we use the funds for, but there is no match. Like she said, the incoming that we'll be receiving this year is $46,961. Are there any questions so far?
Are we allowed to hold illegal immigrants just because they're illegal or they're not citizens of the United States? I thought that was not possible then.
Well, in the event that we do hold them, we'll notify ICE.
Okay.
And ICE, once they'll determine if they're going to give a warrant and get them deported or not.
Okay. And ICE comes and picks them up?
If they have a warrant for them, yes, sir.
Okay. And the warrant would be for a crime or be because they were illegal?
From what I'm understanding, it's for them being illegal, and they'll deport them.
When I was sheriff, the feds wouldn't, they wouldn't do that. The ICE would not come pick them up. So now they are. Okay. All right. Just trying to clear that up.
I will double check that, Commissioner, and I will actually send y'all an email, send everyone an email once I get a final answer on that.
You're the man. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Commissioner Robertson?
Oh, this is good. Okay, now what we do with immigrants? How y'all do that in Douglas?
So,
Make sure you get,
if,
you ain't gotta commit to something you don't know, but we're
Yeah,
talking
so
about federal
that's-
law, and we're talking about people who are in the United States. And I'm following this on the federal level. I wanna be very careful how we align our local with that federal, and what we think the Fed does and doesn't do, what we actually do here. I'm not being political. I'm like, all right, we're gonna play the illegal legal game. Okay, let's hear this answer.
Commissioner Robinson, if you will, let me get back with the chief and Major Wisdom Hunt, and I'll get you an answer by the end.
Sounds good.
before
We'll take it
the end of
offline.
the day.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Clerk, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 10, approval to accept funds in the amount of $10,000 with no match and approve an agreement with the National Council on Aging, Inc. as a contractor for the COVID-19 and influenza vaccine uptake initiative to provide COVID-19 and/or influenza vaccines to 100 or more older adults before April 30th, 2024, amend the budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Dr. Gilchrist.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yes, this is a excellent opportunity for senior services. We are actually partnering with the National Council on Aging to provide clinics and/or coordinate vaccinations, influenza and/or COVID-19 for older adults.
Any comments, questions? Vice Chair?
Good morning. Can you talk to us about how you plan to do this? Are you going to partner with a third
Absolutely,
party?
yes, ma'am. So we will partner with Cobb and Douglas Public Health, and as you know, initially during the initial COVID-19 pandemic, we sponsored several clinics at our senior centers, and we also assisted with coordinating appointments and transportation, and so we plan to do the same.
How many seniors do you anticipate will take advantage of this? Will you use, and secondly, will you use the entire $10,000? And is there a time frame that you have to use this in?
Yes, we do, by April 30th, 2024, and our goal is 100 or more for COVID and or influenza.
And this will be done at the senior centers. They won't have to go to Cobb or
Well, it
or
will be done at the senior center. We're also having our Health and Wellness Festival this coming Friday, and so we plan to assist through the help of Cobb and Douglas Public Health, and it could be in person, or we can coordinate transportation for them and count that. We can also schedule appointments and count that as well.
And since you mentioned it, can you give a little more insight onto your health and wellness festival this Friday?
Yes, this will be our third Health and Wellness Festival that will be held at Deer Lick Park Friday, September the 22nd from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And it's just a day for older adults, their caregivers, to come out. We have about 74 vendors who will be there to provide information for older adults and their caregivers and or caregivers. Yes.
That's great. I think that's really important because a lot of times people don't. You're taking care of your older, loved ones, and just like one of the gentlemen that was here this morning stated, they're caring for someone that has macular degeneration. So to know that there is support systems or vendors or there is help out there, I think it's great. So I'm hoping you all really push that, because that's one of the things I always hear. We have things for other people, but what about the caregivers? They need care as well and support. So that's good. But I think this is good. $10,000. You have to spend it by April of 2024. Your goal is 100 seniors to be vaccinated for the flu.
Flu and or COVID.
Flu and or COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Thank you so much. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thanks for taking care of us old folks.
Right, thank you.
Okay, number 11, authorization to accept grant EMW-2022-FG-08070 the FY '22 Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the total amount of $180,000 with a cash match of $16,363.64 to be funded through the Fire Department's General Fund budget to support turnout gear for 45 firefighters, amend the budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Fire Chief Allen.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Board. This grant is basically to help support the purchase of turnout gear for firefighters, for 45 firefighters.
Okay. Questions, comments? Vice Chair.
Chief Allen, the 45, is this a replacement or is this in addition to you hiring new firefighters?
This is for the new hires.
The new hires?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long does turnout gear last?
Turnout gear normally lasts, there's a shelf life for 10 years. However, depending on the amount of usage, it can actually decline that time.
How important is turnout gear?
Our turnout gear is one of the most important things that we have. I mean, this is what allows us to actually go into the fires. But this amount helps us either for the boots, the pants, the coats, helmets, hats, the mask that we wear.
Got you. And what is and if you don't know, it's fine, but what is the average life here in Douglas County for turnout gear?
One more time?
The average life for turnout gear here in Douglas County.
For the gear?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's all 10 years.
It's all 10 years, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Right now we're at the shelf life at expiration for our gear.
Okay.
And so we're in the process of trying to supplement what we got right now. Each firefighter is supposed to have 2 sets of gear, and some have 1.
Oh,
But
okay.
so this is going to help support some of that.
Got you. Okay. And so are you anticipating putting that in your upcoming budget, or
Yes.
you're trying to find grants to do so?
All of that, yes, ma'am.
All of the above.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
hear you. I hear you. Just trying to anticipate what I may hear in a few weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and congratulations on getting this grant. Much
Thank you.
needed. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Any more comments? The expired turnout gear, Chief, what do we do with that?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
The expired turnout gear that we're replacing, do we give that to less fortunate fire departments, or what do we do with that?
Depending on the condition of the gear, we'll either use it for training or any departments that may use it. But because it is expired, there is some legalities of putting it back out in the field.
Yeah, we did that with bulletproof vest when we were in New Orleans. Those people didn't have bulletproof vests, and we figured they would rather have an old one than not have one at all. So that's what I was wondering.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Clerk.
Okay. We'll now move to our business items. Number 12, a resolution to approval of Project Hammer's participation in the Douglas County Tax Incentive Plan and the memorandum of agreement regarding taxation for real and personal property, leasehold, interest, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. We have Chris Pumphrey.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. Forgive me for I got a little hoarseness. There's a few athletic events that happened this weekend, so but great results, I guess, for you all Falcons fans.
Speaking to the mic, Rick, a
Okay.
little bit more.
Okay, is that better? Because I got to kneel down a little bit. Here we go. So thank you for having us here this morning. Chris Pumphrey, Development Authority of Douglas County, Elevate Douglas Economic Partnership. We are here this morning to present Project Hammer, which is a confidential project that we have been working on for a little over a year now, probably a little longer than that, in efforts to recruit this company, Fortune 100 company, to Douglas County. This was a very competitive search across a number of states. and even within some various counties here in Metro Atlanta. And so we're glad to be before you today. But with me, I do have Mr. John Linio, who's Executive Vice President with CB Richard Ellis. He led the search on behalf of the client. John has flown in from Phoenix, Arizona, to talk about this project and why Douglas County. Also have to my right Mr. Joe Guyon with Panatoni, and they are the developer for the project, doing this as a build-to-suit on behalf of Project Hammer. So if it's okay, I would ask John to come up and just talk more about the project, the company, and what he can share and why they are chosen Douglas County.
Mr. Chair, Board, good morning. I'm John Lenio with CBRE, address 2575 East Camelback Road in Phoenix. As Chris had explained, we have been working on a multi-state site selection project for our client, and the company is looking to distribute pharmaceutical products in about 8 states in the Southeast, so from Louisiana to Florida up to the Carolinas. The company's first request when they're looking at site selection projects is, does a community have good transportation, and does it have good real estate options to build about a 425,000 square foot distribution facility? So the first question, as you were talking about earlier today on transportation and infrastructure within the county, that checked off very well compared to options within Metro Atlanta. The company is also looking at real estate opportunities and workforce opportunities in Alabama and Ohio. The company is, through their due diligence, feels confident that they'd be able to find about 202 qualified warehouse associates, supervisors, support, and other positions to operate the facility. The company has also looked at the county's tax structure. Your tax structure is very friendly from a property and sales tax perspective, and that competed very well with opportunities in Alabama and Ohio. Outside of the numbers, the company is basically was looking for a community that they can become more involved in. This firm spends a lot of time and encourages its associates to take days off that are paid to work with community organizations of their choice. So some examples throughout the U.S. where their employees have worked is working food banks, helping with Habitat for Humanity, being involved in other nonprofit organizations in the communities that they serve. So we felt that compared to the other states we're looking at, but also within the Metro Atlanta region, that we felt Douglas County's culture of being more, I think, workforce friendly and being open for community involvement helped bring it toward the top of the site selection list for this project. I think also the ease of working with Mr. Pumphrey's group as well as the state of Georgia went a long way, and I would give credit to our economic development partners that they do return phone calls in one day, which helps a lot that some economic development groups do not do well. So I'd love an opportunity to answer questions. That was a quick flyover.
Comments or questions? Vice Chair Carson.
Thank you for looking and considering Douglas County. You said 202 jobs. How many of those do you think would be local to Douglas County citizens?
The company's preference is to hire as many local as they can. Since these are all net new jobs to the region and to the state, there's no relocations. The company wants to work with local workforce boards and recruitment of Douglas County residents that have the skills that the company is looking for. Granted, when they put job openings on their website, they're going to cast the net, and anybody within the whole U.S. and Georgia can apply. But I think preference is to hire as many local as possible.
Will you all be providing a training program, or are you working in conjunction with Breezy and Chris Pumphrey in that whole makeup? Or
we will be working with your local workforce training groups. The company in general does between 2 to 4 weeks of training of its warehouse associates. And 4 weeks is a lot for a typical fulfillment or distribution center because this firm is spending a lot of money on robotic and automated equipment. And so compared to other distribution facilities in the region, there's more technical and skilled training that residents and regional workforce would need to go through.
Okay. And talk to me quickly, and then I'll yield the floor, about when this project is slated to be up and running.
Assuming a final decision is made this month after your consideration tomorrow, the company does plan on starting construction with Panattoni as a partner. The building should be finished by June 2025, and the company goes through 1 year of testing of their equipment. So go live is likely around June of 2026. So that means that hiring is likely to start in the first quarter, early second quarter of 2026.
Thank you. I yield, Chairman.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Alcaraz.
Starting salaries for these proposed jobs, can you give us an idea of what those would range?
Yes, the range is between 20 and 30 an hour. On average, the facility will have about $51,000 as the average salary. So out of the 202 jobs, Commissioner, about 80% are material handlers, and then 10% are support supervisors. The company has calibrated their wages to generally be above market so that they can recruit highly qualified talent and retain employees for the long term. What we typically have found with this business and this company throughout the U.S. is they tend to make their location decisions and they stay for 15 to 20 years. So typical tenure when you actually visit a facility in 10 or 15 years is usually half of the employees are around from day one. So the company does go out of their way, as well as providing a very good benefits package, training, community involvement opportunities to supplement their taxable wages.
Yeah. And distribution, we get a lot of concerns from citizens in regards to tractor trailers and so forth. Will this be all semi-trucks in regards to distribution, or different style of vehicles?
Different style vehicles. So transportation impact is very light. The company typically has like U-Haul style box trucks. So now that what you will see coming out of the facility are roughly 30 to 40 box trucks coming in, 30 to 40 going out. Usually they come in the morning and then they leave later in the afternoon. So there won't be very large semi-trucks coming into that facility.
Okay. And Chris, this might be a question for you. In looking at this plan, what are we looking at in regards to property taxes, inventory taxes coming in to our county?
Yes. So with this project, this fits within our standard 10-year property tax incentive schedule. And just so that you know, when we put companies on those 10-year incentive schedules, they are not, completely exempt from property tax over that 10 years. They are discounted property taxes over the 10-year period. So there's typically kind of a very aggressive front end to the schedule, and then the amount of taxes that they pay ramps up over the balance of the 10 years. Alongside this, for Project Hammer, they also will have a significant carry of inventory on site, taxable inventory at that, which is around about $120 million in value a year. With that being said, they will be paying inventory taxes alongside the property tax incentive that they are on. So they'll pay roughly $1.2 million a year in inventory taxes alongside the property tax incentive that's in place.
Okay, and at the end of the abatement of 10 years, what amount is that we're looking at bringing into Douglas County?
Yeah, so at the end, in the final year, they'll be rated about 60% of total taxes due, which is roughly about 1.2 million or somewhere thereabout. And then coming off of the plan, it'll be in the neighborhood of 2 million. We don't have the exact figures on that because we don't have any depreciation. They do have a slow depreciation on their equipment, but we don't have those exact numbers. But you will have appreciation in real estate as well, so we assume somewhere around $2 million will be the property tax paid.
Okay, all right, thank you. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Robinson.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Good morning. My peers did an excellent job, and teeing this up, so my questions will be less. I just want to talk about a couple of context, Chris. First for Chris. You know, as chair of economic development for the board of commissioners, I have certain information that's publicly available, but there are what, 7,000 companies in Douglas County? 5,000 are roughly in what? Douglas County proper, and the others in the city. Is that about right, Chris?
Yes, sir.
5 and 2, so 7,000 businesses. And how many are on our wall of fame in economic development that you earned the right to get this type of incentive? How many roughly?
Roughly 15.
So 15 companies out of 7,000 have this conversation, actually make it through the process. Right? We'll put things in context for citizens sometimes about exchange. Now, for that exchange, obviously there needs to be an exchange. So to the Madam Vice Chair's point and to Commissioner Alcaraz, right, return, what do we get out of this? So out of those 202 people, and I heard what you intend to do, our traditional, now this is me, and I'm setting your expectations going into tomorrow. Typically, we go through the normal economic development chamber process for making notice. What can we do to make things more, I want my citizens to have first right of refusal on them jobs. I'm making this point. So when we post jobs, let's say a legislative aid. Let's keep this real, y'all know me. We'll put that out there. All right, but typically you give people internally a week or two head start. Then we make it available. Do we have that type of flexibility that says, look, I want at least before, I want to give my citizens at least a 1 week head start on these jobs for notice, not get private versus public, but because I'm giving you this public, I want to know about the flexibility on that. Talk to me, Chris.
Yeah, it's definitely, it sounds like something that is possible for us to do, you know, whether it kind of goes through legislative aids first to make awareness. It's a very coordinated effort that happens between our office and the company, you know, on how all those things are pulled together. But I definitely, I'm sure we can do that. When it comes to getting the word out, we do that primarily through, yes, we use the chamber platform, we use our social media platforms to push the word out. Just about a month or so ago, we had a job fair for Sam's Club. I think we had over 200 people, you know, come out, you know, for that. And so really great to kind of see that turnout for those jobs. And so we'll definitely work closely with, you know, your aides and staff in getting the word out to the local community about those opportunities, and work with Project Hammer on trying to figure out a means of having kind of local first in that regard.
No, and thank you for that clarity. I wouldn't necessarily think about the district office, I'm thinking about the county proper. Because I'm always challenging, like, okay, guys, there's, what, 146,000 people. We just found out in our last meeting, Director Kidd, 107,000 adults, 18 years and above, that can vote. So if my penetration is only roughly 200 people out of, what, 100,000, I just think that sometimes we got to cast our nets out on the other side of the boat. We do our traditional, but I'm like, there are a lot of people I always bump into, I didn't know this was going on. I didn't know we had a studio. I didn't know we had an amphitheater. But we do the same old stuff. So duly noted, I just want to know when we get to it, but you know me, I'm going to put it as a condition, says, to ensure we do it, not just lip service. Not just like we're going to go through, like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, no, we've got to do better in our communication to the broader population. The 15,000 people who get our newsletter every week, or whatever it's called, what's happening. It's the same people that had since West Allen. It's grown maybe 2-3%. We can do better than that. So anyway, just want to make that note, Chris. We're good. I got this. No further questions. Mr. Chair, I yield.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ms. Clerk.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Number 13, authorization to file an encroachment permit with the Georgia Department of Transportation in connection with the Spine Road project, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon Rana.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board. This is a new roadway project which is about quarter-mile north of the Lee Road intersection. This adds a new alignment of roughly half a mile of roadway to facilitate the Project Silver, facilitated by Economic Development Authority. We are advertising this project as we speak. Bids will open up first or second week of next month. Since this has an intersection proposed on State Route 92, we require a GDOT permit before we can actually start construction activities, and that is why we're requesting this permit for board's approval. Thank you.
Questions? Comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Clerk?
Thank you. Number 14, authorization to enter into a part-time employment agreement with Donette Chapman, Certified Appraiser 2, to provide personal property appraisal support at a cost of $2,400 per month for October through December 2023, to be funded from the existing appraisal department's budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Steve Balfour.
Morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair. Good morning, Board. This is in an effort to keep our appraisal department working continuously. We are currently short 4 staff members, and we're just looking to get some part-time support to keep us going.
Questions? Vice Chair?
Good morning.
Good
Chief
morning.
Appraiser, talk to me about where you found this particular employee, because I've heard you guys have had some difficulties in finding.
This employee is a former employee. She's retired. She worked with us before, as well as the tax commissioner's office.
Got you. Okay. And how many appraisers are you down in the tax appraiser's office?
We are currently down 4.
Okay. And how are you addressing that?
It's currently advertised, all positions, and we are going through the interview process with a few right now.
Right now? Okay.
Yes.
And talk to me about why it's so important to have certified tax appraisers on staff. What happens if we don't?
It's absolutely necessary. The digest process starts with us, and the digest process ends with us. And it's very important. The Department of Revenue are the only state board that they train appraisers. We're it's a limited resource, but all appraisers in the state of Georgia are trained by the Department of Revenue. And we need to have certified people working on the digest. We submit staff lists along with the digest submission each year. And it's it gives us, the DOR gives us a guideline with the number of appraiser 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s that are required to work on the digest, and we need to meet those requirements each year.
So are you working with our new HR director in terms of getting people opportunities to get trained and certified? I know, having been on the board, I had no clue of the training that you needed to go through in order to even just sit on the board of assessors, yet alone become an appraiser, right? So, but I think, you know, if we had the opportunity to cast a wider net, even here in the county, people would be amazed at the type of training that they can get and how they can actually be an asset to the community that they live in regards to assessments.
That's correct. So I've spoken with our HR, and we haven't initially when she came on board, so we need to catch up and start working to get qualified staff.
Yeah, especially with, you know, our high school students and some of our technical colleges. I believe people just don't know the opportunities that they have in their own backyards, right? Because this one is a part-time, but I mean, to get full-time, to get benefits, to come in and work for the county in a really good department, a growing department, I think we're missing out. So I'm hopeful that you and Ms. Danielle will be able to come up with some creative ways to go out there and cast a net within the community so that we can bring on great people to get trained.
I certainly will look at doing the same. Thanks.
Thank you. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you. Anyone else? How many appraisers do we have, Mr. Ralph?
We currently have 18.
18, and that includes the 4 openings, or you'd have 22?
18, and it does not include, that's full complement.
Okay.
So we're at 14 currently.
And how much of this is computerized? If my house is assessed, how much is assessed by a computer versus an appraiser coming out to assess it?
We do have a computer-assisted mass appraisal service, the CAMA, but it's all done by human. We have appraisers that go out to the field. They use tape measures. They measure the houses, and then we input the data into the computer system. So our computer system assists us, but we are the appraisers.
Okay. I've never totally understood that process. So you guys go to, and I'm not trying to put you in a trap, but you guys go to every house over a period of time and physically take measurements and appraise the property.
We are required by law to at least visit each home every 3 years.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's all I have. Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, number 15, approval of a memorandum of understanding with New Mountaintop Baptist Church for use of their Life Center to be utilized by Douglas Senior Services 2 days per week to provide congregate meals, social, recreational, and educational activities to older adults at the cost of $200 per month to be funded by Senior Services budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Dr. Gilchrist. Sorry.
Good morning again. Yes, this is a memorandum of understanding with New Mountaintop Baptist Church. We're currently providing services to seniors who live in the Connors Senior Village in that area. And so their space and their program would not allow us to serve, will only allow us to serve the older adults who live in that particular complex. And so we are branching out to try to offer a space for all older adults in that area who would be interested in receiving the services. And so this would afford us the opportunity to serve more. Currently, we're serving about 36 older adults in that area.
Okay. Question, comments?
Sure.
Commissioner Alvarez.
I'm glad to see this because we've had a conversation about this. There is a need for a facility or somewhere for our seniors to go in District 4. We've been on that. You and I have had that discussion. There is a need. I've been asked by many of my constituents for somewhere where they could go, so they don't have to drive to Lithia or to Douglasville to be able to spend time with those and make friends and do activities that those who are retired get to do. I'm glad to see this, and I really appreciate you taking the time, as we've discussed, looking at the senior living areas or the senior complexes in my district. I really am thankful that you have taken this on to make this happen for them, because I know that they're going to be excited about this. And if, Lord willing, my peers hear me, and sometime in the near future, maybe we can have such a facility in District 4. But I just want to thank you for doing this. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vice Chair?
Dr. Gilchrist, the seniors that will be attending the New Mountaintop Baptist Church, will you also use the vans to pick up ones from around that area, or will they drive to New Mountain?
Right now, they will drive to New Mountaintop. We are working with Connect Douglas and trying to, what we've done is we've transported some of the seniors from Connors Senior Village to Lithia Springs or the Woody Fight Senior Center or the Senior Center on Fairburn Road. We also, with our programming, one of the things that they love the heated pool at Lithia. And so one of the activities that we do plan to provide and have provided to the seniors at Connors is transportation. So we do utilize Douglas County vans, our senior center vans, to transport them to those senior centers for activities and also for pickleball.
Pickleball.
Yes.
So the recreational and educational activities that will be at New Mountaintop. And shout out to Pastor Reginald Littman. Thank you for doing this. We appreciate you, Pastor. Great partnership there. So I just wanted to give him a shout out in New Mountaintop. But the recreational and educational activities that you will be doing there encompass what? For the $200 a month, because that's low to me. So the fact that he's doing it for that tells you he's a stand-up pastor. But go ahead.
Right. So essentially, it will be some of the same activities that we provide at the senior centers, and so we bring in instructors, which we're currently providing at Connors.
Okay.
So we bring in aerobic instructors, Zumba instructors. We'll provide a meal for them. So we have ARPA funding to assist us with this. So they will receive a hot meal. Every day we will bring in guest speakers, Alzheimer's Association, heart education, everything that we provide at Lithia Springs and Woody Fight Senior Center and our senior center on Fairburn Road, we're going to provide those services for them.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is a test run, I'm assuming, so that you all can start to get some actual data for Commissioner Alcaraz as to the amount of seniors that you all be serving, because we do need data. We need to know. I know that area, people have cars. They moved out there because they didn't want to be in the congested metro area, right? So they have transportation, but like you said, they're getting older and they do want to congregate together. So you will be collecting data as to who's coming, where they're coming from, those types of things that you'll be able to provide to the Board of Commissioners.
Yes, so again, right at the moment, we're serving about 16 seniors at the Connors Senior Village.
16,
and then
okay.
about 20.
Uh-huh.
We're already utilizing New Mountaintop temporarily.
Uh-huh.
And so we have 20 that we're serving now. So approximately 36, but we're spreading the word. They're going to tell their friends, and it's definitely growing. And once we're able to have the MOU approved by the Board of Commissioners, then we'll be able to move a little faster and provide more services.
Got
Yes,
you. And this
see
will
the
be
numbers.
a few days a week, or
2 days per
2
week,
days per
Monday
week.
and Friday,
Monday and
from
Friday.
9 a.m. until 2 p.m.
I think this is a good test run, and I'm hopeful that other churches and other areas will want to come on board and partner with us to get this off the ground. But thank you so much. I yield, Dr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you. Yeah, this is, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, you've got this, and the reason we brought you on board is because of your sensitivity, your thoughtfulness in execution. So I won't get into that because you get how to deliver services. I'm going to go back to the needs assessment, and what I'm encouraged by, just in that moment, I'm encouraged to hear that there's least advocacy out of the Western District. That's important. The need is there. It just needs to be quantified. 40% of our land mass is in District 4. If you think about it, we got an equal amount of citizens, 35,000 roughly strong. We can go higher, but okay, fine, for easy math. And we have an older original population there in that area. Think about how Douglas County over time was north of the railroad tracks. It went where it went regarding migration and how this thing evolved. You just got to step back, and acknowledge, well, okay, if you don't have a need, you don't have a need. But if it's there, the justification for action sometimes, okay, really? We're talking about $200. I don't disagree with Madam Vice Chair. Well, your grants right now are $5,000, so you're doing $200. That's okay, if you're going to do it, do it. Don't nickel and dime. But I get it's a pilot. My point is just to acknowledge, I hear y'all. Keep going. Keep going. But make sure there's a need there. The need has to be there. But if the need is there, you have within the constraints of already our current appropriation to, okay, we still got money that was sitting out there from that appropriations that hadn't been used. And I know where we are right now regarding the budget, but sometimes you gotta take action and quit pausing when it's time to move. Right? If there's a real need, why is the administration pausing? If you're already experienced at doing what you do, like, when y'all get this going, it ain't about job security or contract security. It's like, get the work done. There's a need. People need food today. Put yourselves aside for a minute. But you got this, Dr. Gilchrist. I'm just in that moment that I think we're heading in the right direction. I'm encouraged by the thoughtfulness of my board, and the future needs to be met. The needs many. $10 a need, $1. We get it, but you guys will work this out. I'm encouraged by what I see. Mr. Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, dear.
All right, thank you.
Number 16, approval of an agreement with iWork Systems, Inc. for facility management software in the annual amount of $12,000 with a one-time setup cost of $7,920 to be funded through the previously approved ARPA technology funds as recommended by the Technology Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Alex Betancourt.
Good morning, Chairman and Vice Chair, Commissioners. We're seeking approval of an agreement with iWork Systems. They provide a software for our building maintenance, and we're planning to use it to encompass all of our building facilities. It'll help us track our assets. It'll help us track our components, what needs to be end of life and what needs to be maintenance, track our maintenance contracts across all these facilities. This is also part of our ARPA technology initiative, one of our projects that was approved earlier this year. The agreement has been approved by legal and is ready to be signed.
Any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yeah, okay. So let me make sure, good morning, Director. Just for clarity, this is for technology assets or physical assets of the county proper?
Physical assets and components in our buildings.
In your buildings?
Yeah.
But not the buildings themselves, just the technological components within the buildings? I want to make sure I know what I'm hearing.
Well, some like HVAC and equipment like that we'll be tracking. Anything that requires maintenance, physical maintenance.
Physical maintenance, I got it. Our larger assets. Okay, no, that's fine. All right. May have further questions tomorrow, but I'm okay right now. You clarified what I was looking for. Before I yield, so this is coming out of the ARPA money. How much of the ARPA money that was originally allocated to technology have y'all spent or assigned, or however y'all want to label this?
Well, we've allocated all of our funding. We have 38 projects across $4 million for the past 2 years.
How much money?
$4 million.
$4 million. And so you're on your way.
Yes, sir.
All right. So have you out of that $4 million, how much have you used? Which just percentage-wise?
We're about 60% complete.
6%. Okay. All right. Okay. But you got a plan, and you're just executing on that plan.
Yes, sir.
All right. You're good to go with me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Vice Chair.
Thank you. To Commissioner Robinson's point, I have to commend you, Director Betancourt. You gave us a plan. You executed it. You kept the schedule. You have been one of the best project managers when it comes to the technology and use of these ARPA funds, right? You assessed every department. You went through, you talked to the managers, the directors of the departments, you talked to the Board of Commissioners to see what it was that we wanted to get out of this technology fund, and everything has been implemented. The fact that our facility managers, right, Mr. Price and the rest of the team have been doing these things probably on spreadsheets is beyond me. My mind is blown that you can keep up with all of the facilities and all of the needs of the facilities just on brain power and work that they know has or hasn't been done. So the fact that we're finally bringing them into the 21st century with software that will now at least ease that burden. And I know the new people that we'll have coming into facilities management will really appreciate the fact that we have now invested in technology that will help them to do their jobs better. So, and this will also help the Board of Commissioners when we look at our budget, right? How much money we need to allocate to ensure that we're keeping up with the maintenance of the facilities and the things that we are inclined to have to update and continue to maintain. So this is a good thing. So thank you so much. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Number 17, approval of a contract with ADT for security alarm equipment and services for the Lithia Springs Senior Center in the monthly amount of $79 and a one-time setup cost of $4,949.72 to be funded through the previously approved ARPA technology funds as recommended by the Technology Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Alex?
So this is a agreement that we sought out with ADT for our Lithia Springs Senior Center. It's taken about 10 months back and forth with ADT to get the agreement where we're comfortable at with our legal department. We finally are able to execute this contract with ADT, thanks to legal for setting that up for us.
Any comment?
No, real quick. All right. So, all right, we talk about cameras, right? That we're talking about?
No, this is just an alarm system.
Oh, no. All right, related. All right, stay with me. So you got the alarm system. I'm going back to comment about physical assets. Whether it's a courthouse alarm, cameras and alarm for intrusion, whether it's a library, whether it's a senior center, whatever asset, a park. How do we, what are we doing to it? I'm all about alignment and strategy. All right, so I got to take this transaction, this actual transaction, and put it in the context of a bigger overall. Like, now how y'all gonna bring protection? So, my question is, have we ever taken a step back and looked at everything? I get this, I'm fine tomorrow. My question is, you got to answer my question, which is like, okay, but we've got 33 something odd buildings, different needs of alarms and cameras and stuff. Where are we at with that strategic assessment? I'm almost about alignment. I know you can't eat it all at once, but talk to me about your capacity to think about, talk to me about this, please.
So part of our ARPA technology project for the past 2 years has been deploying cameras to our separate buildings. Once we are complete, we have installed cameras on the landfill. We went from 9 cameras to 12 cameras. We've installed cameras in our fire admin building. We've installed cameras in our tax commissioner's office. We're planning to install cameras in all of our libraries as well, and in our park system as part of our ARPA projects. And we've teamed up with Comcast Smart Solutions to do so.
That's cameras, Comcast, and ADT is in this one single transaction dealing with the alarm.
This particular transaction is for the alarm, just alarm
no,
system.
that's fine. And so there's no volume discounts, there's no capacity. Like, look, man, if I'm going in there, guys, you got a whole county. Come on, Comcast, you're supposed to be a strategic partner. You're a utility. Where y'all at? Can you at least keep my TV station up and going, not go offline? See, this one it gets honest. Very honest about how we go in there, take 10 months for a contract, but they're sitting there like a utility. Not get you got certain state rights that you have territories and stuff, but all right, I'm saying what needs to be said for the record, guys. Don't give away your power and your authority in who you are negotiating. Like, all right, you can let it lie and think that, oh, good job. But I'm just saying, is that our best? And if it is, it is. I'm okay, but that's my job to ask the question in front of the public to ensure that we're doing our job. We're just not taking this thing for granted at the county. I mean, right, it's tax dollars. And yeah, we're not afraid to ask questions. I look the capitalist straight in their face. Like what? Never be beholding. Ever be beholding. Staff to vendors, never be beholden. Know what you represent, the citizens. The citizens put you in place to protect, to make decisions on their behalf, not just public safety, but for you guys also as well. It's about being citizen sensitive. That's all I had to say. You're good. I yield, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Next.
Thank you.
Number 18, authorization for the chairman to execute an employment agreement with Sarah Steele as Assistant Juvenile Public Defender to fill a vacant position with no impact to the budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Tiffany Stewart Stanley.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners. So I come before you today asking for approval for an employment contract for Ms. Sarah Steele, who will serve as the Assistant Juvenile Public Defender. This position is vacant because Ms. Ashley Rogers was, a contract was approved for her to become the Juvenile Public Defender, and Ms. Steele will take her place, take her contract. So we're asking for approval. This will have no impact to the budget. And I'll yield for any questions.
Any comments, questions? You good? Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk?
Number 19, authorization for Douglas County Sheriff's Office to renew the inmate housing agreement with the City of Douglasville Police Department, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Michael Coleman.
Mr. Chairman, this agreement was previously approved by the board. Subsequent to that approval, the parties negotiated some changes that were substantive. Specifically, the City of Douglasville wanted a longer term, a 2-year term rather than a 1-year term. In light of that, it was necessary for the county to have the ability to terminate the contract if it became necessary, since it's more than 1 year. The parties have negotiated a termination period of 4 months in the event that we need to get out of the contract for whatever reason, because it's longer than 1 year. Initially, there was a 6-month period, but we felt like it needed to be shorter. Douglasville wanted to have enough time. They felt like in order to do something of the magnitude of moving the prisoners, they would need at least 4 months. We've discussed that with the sheriff's office. They are in agreement. We've gone through and reviewed the provisions with respect to medical services, and the parties are in agreement. So because those changes were substantive, we felt it was necessary to bring it back to the board for approval. If they had not been substantive changes, then we could have done so under legal review. But because they changed things such as the termination, we felt like they were substantive enough for the board to have to approve again. That is what's before you.
Is the cost the same?
The cost is still the same, yes, sir.
Any comments?
$60 per day.
Commissioner Robinson.
All right. This is all right. So I wasn't necessarily involved in the SDS process, but here's my question on this one. So, Mr. Chair, I'll yield to your expertise. Cost, like to your point, cost per inmate for housing. Now, currently, unlike over across the river, you've got a Fulton County Jail in the city of Atlanta, and I don't know the structure per se, but you all hear it. Over here, it's the county, and we have a relationship with the city where we're taking their inmates. And so, are we getting our fair share of exchange for this? Now, the cost is the city of Douglasville can build their own jail. They could have built a jail right there where the amphitheater is. But this is how the county evolved over time. That look, we the big one. The city of Douglasville is not bigger than my entire district. I got more citizens in my district than the city of Douglasville. Let's put it in context. So, the question is not could we do the arrangement or should we do it? I mean, it's something that this administration inherited over time. This is how we grew Douglas. But the question sometimes comes, okay, are y'all ready to grow up? Can you do it yourself? Or should we maintain this? So, if you're going to live in my house, your allowance may have to go up. I guess my question is, I heard term and I heard termination. But what about that exchange? I don't know if the state law drives it or we can do some extra value services. I don't know, but did anybody even ask the question? Are we just allowing things that historically, like, guys, what we pay? So, Michael, here's my question. That was my editorial, my narrative. Simple question. How much is the dollar amount in exchange for housing inmates from the city of Douglasville in Douglas County's jail? What's the cost per day?
Commissioner Robinson, as it was related when this matter was initially approved,
Yep.
this amount represents a substantial increase from what was previously charged. It is less than the cost, as I understand it, the cost is a little more than the $60 per day, but it still represents a substantial increase from what was previously charged. The sheriff's office has expressed that it is comfortable with this amount, and this is the amount that was previously approved by the Board of Commissioners.
All right, so just one more for the record. The cost versus what they're paying us. So you want to separate the two. Sounds good, since you're saying it's a net. So what is the current cost, and then what are we getting then, if there's a difference?
To get the specific details, I would have to defer to the sheriff's office, and I don't think anyone is here right now for that, but I think at the last meeting when the board approved it previously, if I remember correctly, the cost approximated $70 per person, whereas we're charging $60.
That's okay. We got to tomorrow. This is a work session. That's why we have these conversations. So when I'm ready to vote, you can answer my questions. So can you make sure you get this data for us tomorrow, please?
I will, Commissioner.
That's all we need.
Thank you.
I'm good. Mr. Chair, you may have some insight, but I yield the floor in case you can share that. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I know what those numbers are. It costs $63 a day to house a city inmate, or house an inmate, period. We agreed to do it for $60 a day. They wanted to do it for $50 a day. In addition, every ticket that is written in the city, we get a surcharge fee of $20. So that's going to more than make up for the $3 that we're losing as far as the 63 to 60. So to tell you the total number of what the value of the $20 per ticket is, I don't know. It will depend on the number of tickets, but I think it's a fair deal. We need to be kind to each other. The city needs to be kind to us, and us work together. We need to do the same with them, and I think it's should be agreeable on both sides that this is a fair situation. But that's just my opinion. Anybody else? Vice Chair Carson.
Just one of the issues that I think was raised last time was medical costs. That is the biggest cost when it comes to housing the inmates that probably the county undertakes when it comes to our budget for the sheriff's office. Has that been addressed in this? They've agreed to take care of their own medical expenses.
If a prisoner is a city inmate, labeled as a city inmate, then the city of Douglasville is responsible for those costs.
Thank you.
Am I correct, Mr. Coleman?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. All right. Yep. Huh? Everybody good? Okay. All right. Next.
Okay, number 20, authorization to enter into an MOU with the Douglas County Museum for Community Services in the amount of $50,000 in connection with the previously approved Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan, Phase 1, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Tiffany Stewart Stanley.
Thank you. This is the MOU agreement that will memorialize the understanding between the museum and the county regarding the community services they will provide for the $50,000 that was approved at the last Board of Commissioners meeting. This community service provider agreement is for providing cultural and historical preservation community services for the citizens of Douglas County. This agreement will require the museum to submit 2 reports before the end of the contract, which shall remain in effect until January 31st, 2024.
Okay. Question, comments? Vice Chair?
So, ACA Stewart Stanley, have we given to the Douglas County Museum before under this agreement?
Not this particular one, but one very similar to it.
Okay. Under the one that we did similar to them, what was the amount that the Board of Commissioners allocated?
I believe it was $75,000.
Okay. So in context, we are approving an MOU for $50,000 up till January?
Yes, the amount that at the last meeting that was awarded was $50,000, I believe, through the end of the year.
Okay, so prior, we've given them $75,000 for a whole year.
That's correct.
Now we're giving them $50,000 for roughly 3 months.
Yeah, according to the last Board of Commissioners meeting, yes, Vice
I
Chair.
think the Board of Commissioners may need to revisit the time frame. I would extend that at least beyond January 2024, because even for them to get an audit, which is part of this, right? It's going to take them a minute. So I think that's unreasonable to think that this MOU shall remain in effect and that the $50,000 should be spent by January 31st, 2024. When in the past, we've given them $75,000 to spend for a whole fiscal year of January to December. So I would ask that our legal help us with extending the time frame for this to go beyond January of 2024 so that they can actually allocate the funds and properly spend them and then give us the reports. Otherwise, they're going to be out of compliance. They're not going to be able to report accurately what they did with the funds, and we don't want to catch them off guard with anything. My second request for this would be for the allocation to be outlined, right? How the 50 will be appropriated to them. Will it be a one-time appropriation, or is this over the months of the contract?
So we've normally done appropriations like this, a one-time appropriation of the 50,000 is how we've normally done it. And according to my conversations with her, I think that it may be best because I think she has, there may be some deficits in her financial situation.
There may be some deficits in her financial
yeah,
situation?
basically, from my understanding, there's not enough money right now to fund the museum, so she needs.
What will she be doing? What is needed to fund the museum? Because we pay for the lights, the water, the building, the everything. So what is it that she will be funding? Because that's not attached to this.
Yes, ma'am. So it was, and at the last meeting, and we can resubmit it. But I believe there are 7 part-time employees who she pays out of the. I think there was like supposedly $85,000 a year for those 7 part-time employees that work at the museum, plus supplies, just different things like that. And I don't have the number with me today, but from my conversations and the conversations that Ms. Cottle has had with her, I think she's kind of at a deficit. So that's why we were recommending that there be a one-time payment to the museum of $50,000.
Okay. Have they given you an itemized breakdown of that?
She gave me a breakdown of her request for $105,000 that we had at the prior meeting. And the board, as you know, suggested that we award $50,000 of that $105,000.
Is there another documented source that she is securing funds from in order to run this museum? Like we have other, because every time we, and it's not that we're giving, right? We're partnering with these outside institutions to work with Douglas County to offer citizens these types of services, which, you know, I'm not saying they're not needed. I'm just saying, is there another source of income from them that helps them to offset funding, because it should not be the sole source of the county, of the Board of Commissioners?
Yeah, and I don't think that we are. I do not have the funding in front of me. I know that she has applied and tried to get grants. I do think that there are some fundraising efforts with things like the Hydrangea Festival and different things like that, but I don't have the numbers. I can get that information for you, though.
Okay, so they do have programming like the Hydrangea Festival. When she collects those funds go back into her coffers, and she operates from that.
From my understanding, that is correct. But like I said, I do not have the information in front of me. I would like to just get you an accurate accounting. But this is just from conversations that I've had in the past. Also, I served on the Hydrangea Festival Committee for a couple of years. So I know a little bit about it, but I'd like to get some more information to provide to the board so we can have a clear understanding of where the funding
is. Yeah, because if she's running in a deficit, then that may mean that there needs to be some programming, revamping in order for this to actually be sustainable for the community, right? Because we just don't want to keep pouring in and it's not, you know, able to be sustained to the level that we as the Board of Commissioners and this county wants to see. I saw a lot of comments on social media regarding the museum that were not so favorable, and I know if we are helping them, they want to be successful. We want them to be successful, and this again is taxpayer money, so we just can't give it out to our friends or to people we just like. We got to make sure that we are accountable and that we're giving the level of service that is needed so that we can, we feel good about our efforts to give funding, not just for the museum, but this is for everyone. So she is in understanding that she must be in compliance when it comes to auditing and reporting, because if she comes back, I'm going to remind this board, if she's not done what she's supposed to do, that's why she couldn't get funding last time. But Chairman Miller has assured me that this is going to be good and that is needed, and so we're going to move forward. But again, everybody has to be in compliance, not just the museum, but that's the Cultural Arts Council, that's the chamber. Everybody has to come in compliance, so it's not just her. But with that, I yield.
Anyone else? Yes. Commissioner Robertson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, I'll keep this simple. I listened to this. This is one of those I'm less about the museum, because I've watched this thing for 5 years go round and round and round. It's like, guys, take a position, do something with it. And when the funding went away, my words were simply do better. That's what I said. Y'all remember that? I just like, okay, look, I ain't gonna make this hard. I get it. A museum has great value. You got you got different generations, different ideologies. Let's keep this real, different cultures. Like, okay, it should be inclusive. Figure it out, upgrade it. Get over this. Y'all gonna stay stuck. Y'all gonna be arguing this time next year unless y'all step up and say, look, we need to do better. You got capital. Are y'all gonna put money into it or not? This is going to come up during the budget cycle. I'm going to go there. I'm going to tell you where I'm going. Quit playing with this. Y'all, don't make it a joke. I get comments, but don't make this a joke. That's an important asset. So it takes leadership. Don't let the board weigh in. If y'all can't figure it out, meaning y'all, you external, and all y'all agencies, we can weigh in. We can grab that and bring it in-house. We can, look, that is our building. Let my legal get in there and really look at that contract. Now, how does an individual get a physical asset of the county? Now, how'd y'all do that? Legal, illegal. Historically, I can go way back. Wow, that's how they did it. Look how they move assets, and it feels entitled, as if I don't have to do that. I'm above all the compliance and the rules you talk about because these my pictures. We'll come back to that. Let it go. All right, next point. Now I got my question. So we're doing this MOU. We're using it out the budget. What about the money that we have for the other round 2 of those MOUs from earlier this year? We didn't get to everybody. Where do we stand with that group?
So there is some funding left for the pre-approved community services providers that we came before the board. I believe it was maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. There is some funding left, and so I will work with Ms. Hobson to get a round 2 done, because everybody did not. The issue was we put it out there and everybody did not apply. Or some people did apply, but they didn't have everything that they needed. Yep. And some people have now gotten the information, so we will have to work to compile that list and bring it back before the board for the board's approval for those smaller loan, those smaller amounts of about $5,000.
Correct. Right. Again, we have appropriations. See, this is my point. Taxpayers get on us. Like, okay, but we're appropriating things, but we ain't spending it. We tax you another penny splosh, but we ain't spending it. It like, okay, guys, you got to move. You're fine. I'm just making my point. In that we have people, we have a need out there. You have people need to be fed. People need to be supported. We talk about we can't find agencies. Vice Chair's always on me. There's firms that are out there. There's agencies out there. that we can partner with. We don't have to grow government, just partner with people who already have infrastructure, who already had a contacts. I'm with it. But it just seems like when we finally give the appropriations and stuff, it's paperwork. So I know that county attorney has streamlined this process. I know you have streamlined this process. But let's just get this going, right? Let's just finish this out because we're going into another budget cycle. So how can you ask me about the next budget when you ain't finished the current budget? But you get my point. You got this?
Yes, sir.
Now you can bring forth that list if there's anybody ready. Mr. Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? I have a few.
Yes, sir.
You said that this has been going on for like 5 years? Yes. Okay. Has a museum committee been formed, or has anybody discussed that? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
Tiffy, tell the report that we gave the prior administration some money to go to Kennesaw. Fill the chairman in now for the public.
Yes, sir.
Where's that report? And like we done did this.
Right. We do have a report.
I've seen the report, but go ahead.
Yes, Chairman Miller. So we did engage Kennesaw State University to prepare a report where they did an analysis of the museum. And in that analysis, they gave us an overview of what's currently going on in the museum, as well as they did a SWOT analysis, which of course compared our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats for the museum. They did make some recommendations for the museum. Those recommendations were broken down into 7 general areas. And I'm going to give you a brief on some of it. So one of the things is to make sure that we have a congruent or a consistent mission. One of the things that the report stated is that we needed to develop a strategic plan that enables the museum to achieve benchmark goals and things like hiring, programming, things of that nature. And it really felt that the museum needed a new mission in order to appropriately reach local audiences. And also, one of the main things that the report talked about is the programming as well as the exhibits. Looking at the exhibits that we have in the museum and making them more, I would say, cohesive to the community that they serve was one of the things. One of the major things that it talked about was staffing. The report felt that we needed a more, I would say, professional staff in the way of an executive director, a curator of exhibits and education programs, a marketing and public relations manager, and it's also felt like we needed a registrar and collections manager. And so those would be about 4 positions that we would need at the museum in order for it to properly function according to this report. And then it just gave some ideas on how we can better get a better audience and increase our visitation from the metro Atlanta area, as well as our cities in Douglas County, as well as our surrounding counties. And then, of course, like I stated before, we needed to develop an interpretive plan that would outline our exhibits and have better short and long-term goals with specific measurable objectives for those exhibits. So the report that was completed by Kennesaw State, it's extensive, it is kind of high level, but I think once again it's going to come down to what the will of the board is with the museum. How does the museum go forward? Like Commissioner Robinson said, is it a county department? Is it a nonprofit? Is it, how do we see this museum functioning in the future, and what will be best to serve the citizens of Douglas County? And that would be a decision that we would have to get with the county administration, make a recommendation, and then of course go in the direction of the will of the board.
Okay, the Kennesaw report had some great recommendations in it, I thought, but we're spending $50,000 this year on the museum. They are requesting, at least 4 full-time employees?
That's correct.
What would that cost?
So for the suggested average salaries would be, for the executive director, would be about $93,000. For the curator of exhibits and education programs, that would be about $60,000. The registrar and collections manager would be roughly around $41,000, and then a marketing and or public relations manager would be about $44,000.
So we're we have a decision to make. Do we want to upgrade our museum to what Kennesaw University or State is saying that we should have, I guess, as utopia, or we can continue to spend the $50,000. Well, if that's the case, my vote's spend the $50,000. This museum was started based on volunteerism. Is that right?
Yes, I do believe in, and I don't have the exact information in front of me, but I do believe back when the museum was started, it was more of a volunteer board. There was some paid employees, but I believe it was volunteers.
So those people have been volunteering their time for, I know, probably 20 years, 15, 20 years. And we want to replace them with these high-priced employees. Are we ready to do that, folks? Are we ready to create a museum division of the Douglas County government, and are we ready to spend that kind of money? The money that they're asking, to me, is not unreasonable. They're asking for $100,000 a year, and I do agree that that ought to be accounted for, that they shouldn't be just written a carte blanche check and be able to spend it any way they want to. But we have to decide what we want that to be. We have a travel and tourism bureau that's, I'm told, has got over $1 million in the bank, funds just sitting there. And it may be, they may have a reason for it. They may be going to spend it for something else, but how come we can't take 10% out of what that fund is got in the bank and fund this museum? That it doesn't, all of that, I mean, we keep arguing and we talk about, well, it's not right, it could be a lot better. Sure it could. If you want to spend the $400,000 or $500,000 or $1 million that it costs a year to fund it, then I think we as a board need to make the decision. How big do we want this to be? How good do we want this museum to be? But I think, first of all, we need a committee, a diverse committee of this community to decide where we want to go with this. And I don't think we've done that yet. Maybe we have. I yield. Yes, sir.
I like Mr. Chairman. I actually do. I really do. No. So, Mr. Chair, to that point, we go round and round. And yeah, it was volunteer. But what type of volunteers? Who volunteered? Was it representative? And that's where, okay, it's the elephant in the room. And the point is like, no, the museum is important. I don't think nobody disagrees. It's important, but okay, can it be representative? And it's about the quality. We appreciate volunteering, but at some point, it's sort of like I talked to Judge McClain about, the mental health thing. Like, okay, I appreciate the church thing. I appreciate your ministry thing, but that's not sustainable for a county. That's great that you, as a judge in your chamber, has this over here, your sanctuary village. But how you gonna scale this against this county? Do you know how big this need is out here? But I get it as an individual, so if we allow him and her as individuals and do their little ministry things, their volunteer things, sounds good. But there's a segment of like, okay, now we talk about institutionalizing this. And we talking about, no, this ain't institutional. I appreciate it. And they can coexist. But therein lies, put some capital into this thing. It's an important asset. Have traveling exhibits. Come on, guys. I go to the museum, go to Washington, D.C. I'm always going to the next one. Next one I'm going to watch, I'm going to the Indian one. Right, Native American. Like, come on, guys. It's just, but here's my key thing. I want a leader there that's going to do it full time. I won't put money into that building alone without somebody who's going to drive it, who's going to really do what's right. So I appreciate the chamber, the committee you got in place. I got no problem with the ladies that are there. I have no problem with Ms. Hudson. But you got to put the effort in. So this is pound for pound. Like, okay, I know what volunteer is, part-time. Got it. Now I want to see it. And that's when I said I wasn't being critical. When I looked her dead in her eye, I was like, okay, dang, I get it, but just do better. I don't have a problem. I'm not against whatever y'all give them. I told you that before, but it's like, come on, do better. So, but as far as just keep giving the 50-50, it's like, okay, we're just spinning the wheel, guys, and y'all are not really committed. But I want the chair. Let's take a position. Put it on the table, vote, and we go from there. And that would set the direction. So we don't have to do this right now, guys, because you got to bring this back tomorrow, and we can have further conversation. I won't belabor, but that's why you work through these work sessions. But maybe there is a condition that's put forth that says, okay, if we give this money, this is what we want. So maybe all of us can think of a condition, somebody do it. I mean, unless somebody else handle this, but put a condition on the table. For this 50, we want this committee, that executive director, this type of capital, and if these conditions don't, put something on the table. Quit talking. That's what it means to put something on the table. We all weigh in, we vote. You can settle this tomorrow as a board to give y'all direction on what to do. We don't have to do the work. Our job like, okay, y'all struggling. Y'all are struggling. Look, board, 5 of us, we can do this. Settle it, give them direction to execute the will of the board, and we move on. That's all I think. Thank you. That makes sense. Mr. Chair, I yield.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Tiffany, could you possibly give me that report from Kennesaw? I don't believe
sir.
that I've seen that as of yet.
I'll send it.
There we go. If you could just please give me that report so I
Yes,
can
sir.
see that as tomorrow. And, I do. It's fun sitting back listening to some of this sometimes because I get, from my peers and their points, I agree with my vice chair 100%. If we're going to give you money, you've got to report to us. I don't really foresee her being able to give us a full report of that $50,000 by the end of the year. I don't think it's impossible, but then again, do we really want to push it? Because I do want a thorough report, and that is something everybody needs to understand. If you're going to come before the board or before our county and partner with us or ask us for money, we are going to demand reports. We want to see how you used or appropriated that money or what you used it on. I agree. What we need to decide exactly what all we want to get in the business of, because we do got some tangents out there that, different little avenues that we're taking out, and we need to figure out really, do we really want to get in the business of being a museum? I agree with Commissioner Robinson 100%. If we're gonna fund some money toward it, I do want someone to be able to be there who's going to be able to run it efficiently and stay on top of things. Those are just my 2 cents. But if you could just give me that report for
Yes,
tomorrow
sir.
so I could see that, I
Yes,
would
sir.
greatly appreciate it. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. I don't even know who owns all the stuff up there, the stuff that's in the museum.
So, Chairman, a lot of, the majority of the stuff is donations from the community, members of our community, surrounding members of our counties and things of that nature. I will say, right now, any display in the museum has to be relevant to Douglas County. So I know there's been some mention of some things about traveling, things like that, but right now, the way it's set up is that if you have something in the county, all items should relate to Douglas County. So that's something we'll have to look at if that's something the board wants us to look at in the future. I will say one thing about the volunteer base. A lot of the people who are volunteering, who serve on the committees, they've been doing this for like 30 years. They are older people who are just committed. I think when I first came to the county about 7 years ago, we had volunteers who did like September Saturdays, the art gallery, and some of those people have passed away, and a lot of them just aren't able to volunteer anymore, and we have not been able to get volunteers to do a lot of the things that were being done. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Good? Next.
Number 21, authorization of employment contract amendments in connection with the previously approved Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan Phase 1, pending final legal review. Tiffany Stewart-Stanley.
Thank you. So when you approved the employee raises last meeting, there are roughly 55 employees who are on contracts. And so those contracts need to be amended to reflect the new salary amounts. And so what we're proposing before you today is just a one-page addendum to the employment agreement that just states that the employee's compensation will be reflected in the records of human resources, and this would be an addendum to the contract, so that way every time an employee gets a raise or something of that nature, we don't have to do a completely new contract. There would just be an addendum to that contract stating that there has been a change in the amount. And so we're just bringing that before you today, and this is based on the action that the board took 2 weeks ago. And I'll yield.
Any comments, questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yeah, just one for clarity. And so the general population, for what the decision the board made at the millage rate meeting, did it include any elected officials, yes or no?
From my understanding, no.
All right, that's all I want to know. Did no elected officials got this increase? The decision that was made, they did not get impacted, correct?
That is correct.
Did appointed people get it?
So I have to ask a question for clarity. When you say appointed, do you mean like appointed?
Judge.
Appointed judges.
Whomever. I mean, meaning appointed.
Yes, I would think, and I can get clarification from our human resource director, because they are not elected, that they would fall in the classification of general population and would be receiving the adjustment.
All right, so no elected, I mean, truly your name is on the ballot. You don't get it. You didn't get it, but anybody else that may be appointed, not necessarily appointed to an elected position, but anybody who's appointed on the roster, they did get it, correct?
That is correct. I
Please
have.
clarify tomorrow. We can do it offline.
Yes, I can clarify it, but it's just excluded elected. And there are a few more exclusions, but I know that elected officials were not included.
Who else was excluded?
So there was an exclusion of employees who were grant funded. Those will be looked at on a case-by-case basis. If you recently received an increase, I believe there's a timeline for that. Certain people would not get it from that.
I got it. All right, but basic administrative, HR, y'all got that. Okay, I got it.
That's
Thank
correct.
you. I was looking just for the big guys. Thank you. Mr. Chair, yield. I'm fine.
All right, anyone else? Vice Chair.
Madam ACA, who brought this forward to change the language for the full-time employment agreements?
So that was brought forth, actually, myself, the clerk, and the county attorney. You mean the addendum to the employment agreement?
Yeah.
We just looked at it and just thought that based on the fact that the board last year made adjustments to the way we do our contracts, that they're no longer yearly contracts, that they're just contracts that continuously run until the board or that person terminates the contract, it would just be best to do an addendum that just simply states that your salary is based on the amount that the board has agreed upon.
Okay, so it's just for the base salary as approved?
Yes.
Within the agreement?
That is correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you, I yield.
Anyone else? Clerk?
That concludes our business items, Chairman. We'll be at approval of expenses.
Approval of expenses. Please review the expenses before tomorrow's meeting. Do we need to go into executive session, Mr. Coleman?
I'm sorry, Chairman, we do need to backtrack to commissioner comments.
Okay, any commission comments? Mr. Robinson?
All right, thank you. I'll be quick. This is just for the record. Every year for the past couple of years, the Board of Commissioners has brought forth legislation that we thought that was proper. Not necessarily legislation associated with planning and zoning, but broader, whether it's ordinance for minimum wage or whatever we were working on at that time. So typically that was being driven by the office of the vice chair. Doesn't necessarily mean that any single commissioner cannot bring forth legislation, nor does it prohibit the executive side bring things forth. But it's that time of year. So for the record, some of the things I know that was in play that we hadn't got around to or need to get around to, I'm just putting on record what my office plans to sponsor for consideration this year. So one, Lisa, pay attention, administration. I'll make that work with clarification of the administrator role. Like last year we did the county attorney, this year we'll do the county administrator for code. Let's talk about insurance. Our insurance is a topic that we didn't necessarily finish early this year. I don't have time for optics. Time to get work done. Third, replacement in event that I decide to retire in the year. How are y'all gonna replace me? I need that on the agenda. Fourth, let me keep going down my list. The car allowance is something that we know that was on the docket that we never dealt with. Put it on the table and be resolved. We have to. We got to be mature about our legislation just as well as our financials. I know that staff is going to bring forth a couple other things such as fleet and grants. I'll let them sponsor if they so choose to. I also think I want on the record, Lisa, the merit system. merit system. It's something that, I know it's big, we may not solve it all in this cycle, in this session, but nonetheless, let's put forth some real work on these matters. So, you got those 5, Lisa? 6?
Yes, sir. Well, I have 5.
5, that's good enough. If I need to put more, that's just for the record, guys, down. Again, we'll get into the formal process as we get into the budget. Remember, the budget is a legislative process. It doesn't stand on its own, so it's a good time to put it all in there together, and we knock this thing out by the end of the year. But again, you guys, it's not held by any one person. Nobody has a monopoly on legislation as a commissioner. I'm just saying what I'm putting forth, and I look forward to you guys' participation in the process and working it as well. I yield. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
On that topic, I would also like to put forth from my office change. We all discussed this in regards to the amount of votes when we place someone on the Personnel Review Board. The constitutional officers, they all get, all of them get one individual vote, but the board as a whole only gets one vote. I definitely want to, I'm going to push that forward to be changed.
That's on the merit board?
Yes, on the Personnel Review Board. So I'm going to push that forward, that be changed to where our county commissioner, BOC, gets more votes than just one vote.
And how many members are on the board?
The constitutional officer, I believe there was 5 of us, correct?
On the Personnel Review Board?
Oh, no, not the amount of people on the Personnel Review Board.
Oh, yes. The 5 commissioners get 1 vote.
Okay, and how many members are on the board besides the commissioners?
There are 3 members.
So that would give us authority over the
One
board?
1 member. The other 2 members are voted on differently.
I'll try to clarify, Mr. Chairman. Currently, there are 3 members of the board. 1 is appointed by the employees.
Right.
1 is appointed by vote of elected officers with each constitutional officer has 1 vote, and the board as a whole has a vote for that 1 seat. And then the 3rd seat is appointed by the 2 who are elected as I just described. So the one that the board has a vote on is elected by each constitutional officer having a vote and the board as a whole having a vote. That is, I think, the position that Commissioner Alcaraz is referring to, the one that the board as a whole has 1 vote and each constitutional officer has a vote. And I think that probably would fall within also the rubric of merit system changes totally, because that's something that I think Commissioner Robinson also mentioned.
Okay, you may have answered my question. If you did, I'm too dumb to figure it out. How many people are on that Personnel Review Board?
3.
There's 3. And 2 of them are, one's appointed by employees?
Yes, sir.
And who's the other one appointed by?
One's elected by, as I described, for the vote of the board having 1 vote and each constitutional officer having a vote for a seat. That's the second
That's just
seat.
for the second one, right?
That's the second seat, yes.
Okay, and then the 3rd one, the board as a whole gets to vote 1.
No, the 3rd one, the 2 people who were elected select the 3rd person.
Okay.
So the board does not get to elect a representative on the Personnel Review Board by itself. It has 1 vote with respect to 1 seat.
Okay. Still confused, but we'll figure that out later. Anybody else? Mr. Coleman, do we have any need to go into executive session?
Mr. Chairman, we have 1 very brief executive session matter in real estate that I'd like to ask Mr. Worthington to be available, and it's very brief, and we can really just do it here rather than going upstairs if the board prefers.
We need a motion to go into executive sessions to discuss what?
Real
It's
estate.
a real estate matter.
I make
Okay,
a
real
motion
estate.
that we go into
Okay.
executive session for real estate.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned. Are we going into executive?